For Alex Edelman, it's easy to remember his first Christmas because it was his only Christmas. He was raised as an Orthodox Jew, and he says his family was very Jewish. Casually dropped Hebrew around the house. He and his brother AJ called their parents Ima and Abba for mom and dad. He's a comedian and tells this story about how they were so Jewish and so surrounded by Jews, he didn't even know he was Jewish for a while.
And I remember the first time I was aware of being Jewish. I was at a children's birthday party at a Chuck E. Cheese, and I reached for a slice of pizza that had some sausage on it or some pepperoni, something not kosher. And my grandfather saw me reaching, and he kicked my hand away. Kicked. And he went, "You can't have that, we're Jewish." And I said, "What does that mean?" And with a totally straight face, he just went, "It means you'll never be happy." And I went, "Papa, I don't want to be Jewish." And then my grandfather laughed at me and went, "Chief, that's the most Jewish thing there is."
When Alex and his brother AJ were little, they attended yeshiva, Jewish day school. So like I say, their whole world was people who never celebrated or talked about Christmas. But in the show Alex has been touring, he talks about this one December when he was 6 and AJ was 4. He mentions, by the way, a family friend in the story, and he changed her name when he tells the story on stage. Here's Alex.
All of the best Jewish moments of my life are moments where Jewish values presented themselves in like unconventional places. Like once when I was a kid, my family had Christmas. My mom had this friend named Kelly. And Kelly had lost her siblings like in years previous, and her parents weren't in the picture. She was alone in Boston, and my mom noticed that she would get sad around the holidays, and this is a really good friend. And so my mom said, "Hey, Kelly, why don't you come to our house for Christmas?" That's the kind of person my mom is. My father did not want that. My mom is a Jew from Cincinnati. She's a Midwestern Jew. It's a slightly gentler existence. My father grew up Jewish in Boston like me, but Dad grew up Jewish in Boston in a time when it's actually really hard to be Jewish there, which is between the years 1500 and 1994. He's like, "Cheryl, I will not have Christmas in a Jewish home." And she's like, "Elazar, we're having Christmas." And he's like, "Over my dead body are we having Christmas?" So they compromised, and we had Christmas. AJ and I come downstairs one day. My parents are sitting in the living room. I don't know if anyone else grew up in a home like this. We were never allowed as children in the living room. Never. The living room was for guests and tragedies. Those are the only times we were allowed. And everything in the living room was covered with like a thick plastic sheet in case like the real owners of the home showed up one day. We come downstairs. My parents are in the living room. No guests. And AJ and I look at each other like, "Oh no, Bubby died again." And like we walk in and we sit down on the forbidden couch. And my mom just went, "Boys, this year, we're going to have Christmas." And this is how young and insulated we were. AJ and I looked at each other, and we looked at my parents, and I just went, "What's Christmas?" And my father went, "It's like Hanukkah." And my mom undermined him immediately and went, "Yeah, but maybe even a little bit more fun." Hanukkah sucks. I appreciate the new politically correct world that everybody lives in, where we all pretend that all the holidays are equal. They are not equal. Everybody knows it. Hanukkah is very much the Diet Coke to Christmas's black tar heroin. There is no comparison. There is no comparison. And you never know when Hanukkah is because the calendar's sometimes it's in early December, sometimes it's in like late July. You never know. And my non-Jewish friends are always like, "Well, you guys are lucky. You get 8 days of gifts." I have never met a single Jew who has ever received 8 days of gift. Here's how it works. You get one gift over the course of the 8 days. If you're getting a bike, you get like a pedal on the first day and the handlebars on the second day and the wheel on the third day. It is absolute bullshit. Anyway, we do Christmas, and oh my God, do we do Christmas. We do the lights. We do the stockings and glitter. We went whole hog. No hog, kosher Christmas dinner. But we deck these goddamn halls. Deck. And Kelly comes into our house. And Kelly, white. Wasp. Like Princess Diana haircut, chunky gold earrings, Hermes scarf, shocking blue pantsuit. white. But she walks into our house like a little kid. And she starts to cry immediately. And my mom just went, boys, whatever Kelly wants to do, we're going to do. And we did all this deep cuts Christmas stuff. Like, we strung popcorn together on a string. We ate our way through an entire chocolate advent calendar in like 25 minutes. And we watched Christmas movies. Please try to imagine being a young Jew who has never seen a single Christmas movie. And then one day you watch like 7 of them in a row. AJ and I are like, what is this? And the one that sticks out is the Peanuts Christmas special. Snoopy, Charlie Brown. AJ and I are like pressed up against the screen. We're like vibrating with joy. And AJ's like, the meaning of Christmas, Snoopy. And I'm like, the spirit of Christmas, Charlie Brown. My dad's in the corner like praying for lightning. And, like, at some point, Kelly, crying, walks over to us and she's like, boys, we need to put out cookies for Santa Claus, don't we? And AJ and I are like, uh-huh. And we look at my dad, who's already covering his face, and I just went, Abba? Who's Santa Claus? And my father rarely cursed in front of us, and my mother says she doesn't think this happened, but I remember so clearly, and maybe he thought we couldn't hear him, my father looked at my mom, and he went, Cheryl, Jesus Christ. And my mom went, Eleazar! And he went, come on! And she went, do it! My father walked up to us, and he went, Santa Claus, boys. He is a fat man. And he comes down non-Jewish chimneys in the middle of the night, and he gives gifts to young Gentiles. And he said, he's like Elijah, but instead of drinking your wine, he eats cookies and leaves you gifts. If you don't know who Elijah is, on Passover, the Jewish holiday, in my house, here's what will happen. Your uncle will open the door for Elijah, and then one of the other uncles under the table will start kicking the table, and when the wine cup shakes, they'll go, look, he's drinking, he's drinking! And AJ and I look at each other. And we look at my dad, and AJ just went, Be'emet, which means for real. And my father looked at my mom, and he looked at us, and he went, yeah, of course he's real. We put out cookies for Santa Claus. I remember every little detail. Little table, red tablecloth, Power Rangers plate, 3 chocolate chip cookies. We're very skeptical, obviously. We go upstairs. We go to bed. We come downstairs the next morning. The cookies are gone. They're gone. And AJ and I see this, and we black out completely. We lose consciousness. But I know what's happened because I saw home videos a couple years ago, and on them we're like, oh my God, he was here. And at some point, AJ's standing on the couch, and he looked at me, and he just went, Santa came! And I went, Baruch Hashem! And we ran out to the garage. Why? This is the one concession my father got from my mom. He's like, Cheryl, I will not have a Christmas tree in a Jewish home. And she's like, I can respect that, Eleazar. We'll put it in the garage. And there are 2 photos of this. They're the weirdest photos. We're wearing jackets because we're in a Boston garage in December, but we're wearing pajamas because we're children. And we're wearing yarmulkes because we're Jews. But we're standing in front of a fully decorated Christmas tree with a teddy bear on the top holding a dreidel and wearing a yarmulke. And we go to yeshiva that day because Jewish day school, if you can believe it, not canceled for Christmas. And we come home that night, and my father gets a phone call. It's exactly what you think. And he picks it up, and the first thing the principal says to him is, "Professor Edelman, your sons have a lying problem." My father said, "What did they do?" And the principal said, "Well, the teacher tried to explain to the children the very delicate topic of Christmas. And Alex raised his hand, and he said, 'We had Christmas.' And the teacher said, 'You didn't have Christmas.' And he said, pretty sure we had Christmas. Lights, stockings, Snoopy, Charlie Brown, meaning of Christmas. And the teacher's like, 'You didn't have Christmas. You had Hanukkah 3 weeks ago or 9 months from now, depending on the year.' Anyway, non-Jews believe in this guy called Santa Claus. And in my mind's eye, I remember AJ raising his hand and saying, 'We had Santa Claus.' That's what I remember. But there are conflicting accounts here. Apparently, AJ didn't raise his hand. Apparently, AJ, in the words of the teacher, lifted 2 fingers like he was ordering a second martini. And AJ didn't say, 'We had Santa Claus.' Apparently, AJ just went, 'We know Santa Claus.' And the teacher's like, 'You don't know Santa Claus, AJ.' And AJ's like, 'Pretty sure we know Santa Claus.' And the other kids are like, 'Who's Santa Claus?' AJ's like, 'Oh, he's amazing. He's a fat man, and he comes down non-Jewish chimneys in the middle of the night, and he gives gifts to the young Gentiles. He's like Elijah, but instead of wine, there's cookies and gifts.' But last night, because he's friends with our dad, he came down our chimney, and he left this Walkman underneath the tree that my parents put in the garage, and he ate all of the cookies." And the principal said, "Professor Edelman, is this true?" And apparently my father just went, "No." "It's not entirely true." And the principal said, "What do you mean it's not entirely true?" And my father said, "Cheryl and I ate the cookies." AJ's wrong. Santa didn't come to our house. And my mom says there was a significant pause on the other end of the phone. And then the principal went, "I know Santa didn't come to your house." "You had Christmas?" My father explained. He explained that Kelly was bereft and that she had nowhere to go, and that he had reservations about this, but he let it happen because he thought it was actually a really valuable, teachable moment where he could explain to his children that doing the thing centered in Jewish values may not always appear conventionally Jewish. And more than anything else, doing this for this woman who really had nowhere to go, really. It was a classic example of what Jews would traditionally call mitzvah, which means good deed. Principal listens. Dad explains. When my dad finishes, the principal said, "Professor Edelman, I understand where you're coming from, but you're wrong." Because what you've actually done is you've introduced this holiday that is foreign and corrosive into your home, and you've clearly confused your children and perhaps harmed them permanently. Well, you've given them this holiday, and next year you're going to take it away from them. So what's that going to do? This isn't a good deed. This isn't a mitzvah. It's idol worship, which is like the most grievous sin that a Jew can possibly commit. And you and your wife need to begin repenting for that right now. And my father, to his credit, went, "Well, clearly, Rabbi, you don't understand the meaning of Christmas." And then he hung up the phone.